interest at all levels of holarchy. Now, after every huge crisis on this planet, such as major extinctions, you find batches of new species appearing all at once in the fossil record, as if an entire ecosystem was a living economy that failed due to maybe an outside meteor impact, some other climate change, and suddenly the niches were there for new species to develop in, and they did. Crisis has always been opportunity for nature. In fact, nature doesn't do our either-ors. It's either this way or that way. It's both ands. It's competitive and it's cooperative. It's profoundly conservative when things are working well and gets radically creative when they don't work. This is a good thing to know, and I love England's new government that's experimenting now with a coalition between parties working together. That's terribly important in this kind of a context of where humanity is going. Even if it isn't a perfect union, it's an effort to get there. Now, economics is about transforming resources into useful products that we then distribute, consume, and or recycle. And nature also transforms resources into products to be exchanged, distributed, consumed, and always recycled in the case of nature. So there's something that we can learn from nature, and we are learning it now. So nature's been doing economics for billions of years and may have something to teach us about it. Unfortunately, in our world, our economic theory is based more on a kind of Darwinian psychology of self-interest only in the form of selfishness. My gain at your expense, win-lose economics. And we need to get over that and integrate the two sides of cooperation and competition, keeping the creativity, even keeping friendly competition as long as it isn't hostile. Oops, what did I do? I mistakenly, how do I get back? Does anyone know how to get back when I mistakenly hit the end of the show? Pardon? The arrow, but then it'll go back through one at a time. There is a way to go back to starting it at the slide I was at, isn't there? This is the submitted phrase. I need to go to a little bit down further. Thank you. Okay, to watch what button you push here. So ecology comes from the Greek, ekos meaning household, plus logos meaning organizational design. Economics, economy is ekos, the household, with nomos, the law or operating principles. So we cannot separate ecology from economy because they're both about how you run the household. What we really need now is ecosophy, to combine ecos with that ancient Greek word for science, sophias, philosophias, to get wisdom economics. Note again the ethics involved in that. Here's a lovely poem by Hafiz about natural economies. Even after all this time, the sun never once says to the earth, you owe me. Look what happens with a love like that. It lights up the whole sky. Isn't that beautiful? It's like mothers giving milk to children. You don't ask for return. If everyone gives, the world works. There are some lovely examples on the internet now of gifting economies. One by Nipun Mehta called Charity Focus. Look it up. So how did we get from the cooperative economies we did have in the past that fed and housed everyone to economies that became competitive money gaming, literally now a global casino? Most of the money flapping around the globe every day is just gambling, has nothing to do with production and consumption. Where did the ethics go? Why are we at a gaming table? Still all over the world we teach children, don't take things away from each other, don't call each other names, don't hit each other. Should we tell mothers to stop teaching these things because they're irrelevant in our world today? Or shall we grow up as a species and behave this way so that when the children turn the television set on, they see the grown-ups role modeling what mama's teaching? Everything we learn from nature shows that competition is an immature mode, while cooperation is a more mature mode. Isn't it our human turn to grow up? Human societies are part of the earth, so biological evolution helps us understand human social evolution, including business, banking, our major economy. Businesses are systems made up of people who are living beings. So businesses are not mechanisms, even though they were designed that way. They are living systems made up of people. On my website there's an article called The Biology of Business with 15 or 16 principles of healthy living systems that you can measure a business by. You can see how much is it like a living system. And the internet, by the way, has most of those principles in it, even though it's still very young. Tachi Kyuchi, who was CEO of Mitsubishi Electric America, with Bill Shireman, an ecologist, went to all the rainforests around the world and wrote this wonderful book, What We Learned in the Rainforest, saying no problem ever faced by a business has not been faced and solved by a rainforest. Beautiful book. That's Tachi and me in Japan a few years ago. Now, globalization to me is a natural evolutionary process of maturation into a cooperative world. However much we read about globalization as being just about big corporations, and the largest entities in human society now are not nations so much as corporations. 51% of the largest ones are corporations. But cooperation is kicking in. It's happening in the arts. It's happening in travel around the world. It's happening in our communication system, especially the internet, and in money exchange across all languages and cultures. The Visa card was originally designed to be completely equitable, but now Citibank and a few others managed to get monopolies within it. We have international space stations, more and more international meetings on religion, a United Nations, scientific efforts, for instance on global warming, the largest cooperative research project in science in all human history, and over 1 million NGOs, most of which are trying to make a better life for people and for other species. Why do we think it's so hard to weave 6 billion people into a single global family when a single body has 50 to 75 trillion cells in it? Every cell in your body is as complex as a large human city, and altogether you are more complex than all of human society. Small things are not necessarily simpler than large ones. In every one of your cells, there are some 30,000 recycling centers keeping your proteins healthy. In every one of your cells, there are more or less 1,000 mitochondrial banks that are issuing free debit cards that never require payment, much less interest. We could invent this kind of an economy for ourselves at our scale. And the main role of money should be to grease your local economy as well as the world economy, and you can print your own local currencies to prevent leakage off your island and still use the global currencies as well. Diversification, like in nature, where diversification is the name of the game. So economic independence for Sri Lanka would be about having your own businesses growing your own food, producing your own energy, making your own money so that it doesn't leave the island because no one else will want to trade in your Sri Lankan hours or whatever you call them, and preserving your culture, keeping those villages healthy and alive. So I'm thrilled that you're coming into the world economy through your local craftsmen. Local economies must be as strong as the global economy, as I said. So now we have to become sustainable because we're coping with the greatest crises ever. And that is, of course, a hot age rolling in, peak oil, financial collapse, and so on. From the moon, we've seen humans as a desert-making species. If you could see us over time, you'd only see expanding deserts as a result of human presence. And now it's time for us to be a desert-greening species, learning from nature that it's less costly to make friends of enemies than to defeat them, conserving energy and water while developing new sources for both, converting deserts to drought-proof food-producing ecosystems can actually be done with very low technology at very little expense. Ask me. Learn from nature the mature mutual gifting economies of healthy living systems. Change happens one person at a time, and your conscious clothing movement is going to build awareness in its own way. It's ethical spirit in action. That's conscious evolution. Can we create a healthy economy in harmony with nature, with conscious clothing for a start here today, and last year, and next year, and so into the future? Think local, think global, act both. So I believe it's our evolutionary mandate to create sustainable global economies and truly become a global family. Are we ready to be a mature species, to recognize our challenges and face them proactively, to meet each other in peaceful creativity, creating ethical living economies, sharing Earth's resources with each other and with other species, to know ourselves and all species as a truly global family? Rumi says, "Why do you stay in prison when the door is so wide open?" Thank you very much.